Awesome. Thank you so much. So first of all, I think you've been hearing right from the beginning of the day that GCCs are evolving, GCCs are growing, GCCs have AI in them. What is actually new and how are they actually adapting to it? I have all the important HR leaders with me. I've got Smriti, I've got Dinesh, I have Rekha with me, and you can count me in as well, right? And I will ask them tough questions, and I will hold them accountable to their answers as well, and I hope we deliver a very engaging session for you so that we answer some of the basic questions. That is HR coping up with it? I think the biggest questions that most people have is that while tech teams are leading the way, is HR coping up, right? In the sense that, do we have our HR models evolving? Do we have everything else in terms of the skill set, in terms of capability, in terms of everything else that needs to, follow up from the tech model side of it? And are we ready for the growth or not? With that, I have a few questions for you, Smriti, Dinesh, and Rekha, and I would want you to be honest about it with our audience, and I will nudge you to be honest as well. We'll start with something really basic. There is something that we have always talked about. There's something that we have been talking about for last 10 years, that GCCs have been growing from service centers to being innovation centers or transformation centers. What are the new expectations from the leadership team, from the capability center, from the skill set perspective, from the GCCs? And this one is for you, Smriti. You get started.
Thank you, Pragya. Seems to be a loaded question. I'll take it part by part. But thank you so much, audience, for being here and full support. And thank you, 𝗟𝗏AI and 𝗥cie for inviting us here. I think it's been a really wonderful journey, if you ask me. When we saw our speakers talk through the GCC evolution model, I thought it was all like a flashback, right? And it was like, oh, we've all seen this, now what's next, right? And I can see so many heads nodding in the audience. But if you ask me, honestly, I personally believe that staying current is no longer about survival. It's about being competitive. So as GCC leaders in this room, I think it is very, very critical for us to ask this question as to how the upskilling, the reskilling, and the cross-skilling that we need to focus on to stay competitive is going to drive us in leading today and tomorrow. Right? And how is this AI knowledge, digital fluency going to enable us and propel us to create business level outcomes? Now, this is not an easy question, because when you talk about senior leaders, when you talk about mid-level management, they are grappling with a lot of change, right? And to top that out, we're saying, okay, you need to have AI fluency, digital literacy. So I think the question and the answer here is about how do you make it relevant for them, right? So you learn about an AI technology, but how do you build business outcomes through it? I think that is going to be something that we'll all have to think through in terms of enabling our leaders. And I'm sure that one size will not fit all.
Absolutely. Thanks, Smriti. Thanks for calling that out. And I have always been thinking about it. I'm an HR professional for the last 18 years. I've been an HR business partner with a lot of big organizations like Deloitte, KPMG, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, PepsiCo, and now McDonald's. Now, I'm thinking about it, and pretty hard, okay. And I'm wondering, is HR the last one to follow? And that's a question to the panel today, that is HR the last one to follow? Technology always leads the way. But are we prepared to follow with our competency frameworks, our leadership frameworks, and what is actually changing? And this question is for you, Rekha. That is HR prepared, or is HR just catching up somehow, bare minimum, scrapping through the way? While technology sets the center stage, we are far behind. Yeah?
You know, I'm reminded of, I think just a couple of days back, I read that the Perplexity CEO made a statement, apparently, that in the next 6 months, the entire recruitment function is redundant and will completely be handled by agentic AI, right? And it was very interesting. So I always see, you know, when there's a quote like that, I then go and also read the comments. I'm sure many of you also do that because it's very interesting perspectives that you get to see, right? There are a lot of people who write for it. There are a lot of people who debate. There are a lot of people who get very agitated and anxious, you know, when they read a statement like that. But I think to your point, you know, definitely there is a lot of change happening, even in HR, right? When we talk about agentic AI, when we talk about, you know, the symbiotic relationship between, you know, AI and human, I don't think that's only in, you know, functions like product or engineering or, you know, operations, right? It equally applies to AI in HR. In HR also, you have many, many transactional, you know, functions which can easily be automated. And it's important that as people leaders and as strategic HR leaders, we need to take the onus. Now, I know you made a statement, and at least I will, you know, definitely contest it. A future-looking HR leader will always aim to stay ahead of the curve. In fact, more than 8 months back, we started conversations in our organizations looking at how do we leverage agentic AI across the entire employee lifecycle. In fact, I've mandated with my team, every month they are supposed to learn, pick up, and also showcase how are they leveraging AI. And this is across the entire organization. In fact, you know, we've launched AI showcases where every week leaders along with their respective teams, they come and talk about and they share examples of how they are leveraging AI, how are they, you know, seeing the benefits and how are they seeing the, you know, impact of it in their day-to-day work. So the question then arises is, you know, it's like this difference between using Google Maps and using a self-driving car, right? Yes. You use Google Maps, it tells you, okay, you need to reach so-and-so place, this is the route. In a driverless car, it drives for you. So then what are you doing? It then creates the bandwidth for you, which then gives you that, you know, impetus to actually think. So go back to the example that I shared earlier, recruitment. It is not just about, you know, filling seats. There is judgment involved, there is insight involved, there is stakeholder management involved, there is business involved. You are in a world where skill sets are rapidly changing, JDs are becoming redundant, so that's where the recruiter role is evolving. And I would say the same thing across the entire HR function.
Absolutely, and thanks, Rekha. I want to assess the audience as well. With a quick show of hands, tell me how many of us feel that AI will take over our jobs? Only one? Okay, this is very few people, about 3. Okay, and how many of us feel that AI will create more jobs? Oh, so many more people optimistic, so that's really great. Now, I would want to ask this question to all of you as well, is if you are a leader of an organization or if you are from the HR team of an organization, tell me very frankly, with hand on your heart, has your organization done anything to modify the leadership capabilities or behavioral frameworks? Awesome, I'm really hopeful. That's really brilliant. Okay, thank you. That brings us to a question for you, Dinesh. As we think of AI and we think of everything that is changing, what have you really done to change the organizational framework, the org design, the talent framework, the competency framework, the leadership models, the skill set that you need for your organization to be ready for AI?
That's not the question we agreed you will ask me. Anyway.
So you can always expect some curved balls from me.
No, great question. I will answer that. But before I start, you know, you asked all of us to be honest, so I have to make a honest statement to the audience. I think I have done something right in my life to be the only man on the stage with these 3 famous women. Even though I know all of them very well, you know, through several years, but ladies, it's a privilege to be here with you. And again, I said that's a great question. So something that we practically did in our organization, you know, and I know some companies would have already done this, and I'm sure, Pragya, you worked in PepsiCo, and PepsiCo is a pioneer in this field, but I would like to share something that we did in our organization. I will start with the talent framework. And if you speak to any HR head, even today, they will say one of their biggest challenges is talent development. And the talent development challenge is not just to provide the right learning interventions to the people, but linking the learning to career development is the bigger challenge, and that's where talent development suffers. So we wanted to address this problem, and we wanted to use digital technology with a little bit of machine learning. That's where AI comes in. I'm sure all of you use the apps, food service apps like Swiggy and Zomato. Right? And when you get into the app, you will see it starts throwing up your favorite restaurants, your favorite food, and there is a lot of data analytics. So we built a learning platform using that methodology. So when a user gets in and starts learning, the system reads their learning behavior, and over a point in time, it starts showing the courses that they should take, looking at their learning behavior. And then it tracks their learning, and it also keeps popping them, the pace in which they are doing. It also creates, leaderboards where it shows the pace of the other. So there is some gaming. It creates a competition. So this is one part. And I'm trying to be as short as possible. So the learning part, how it, kind of induces learners to learn. The other is we also developed a career development framework with very clear, transparent learning paths. And then we used a product, it's available in the market, it's called Eightfold. Some of you must have heard of it. We use that, and Eightfold comes with its own AI technologies, which defines the career path, and it links the learning path to the career path. And people are asked to load their resumes internally, and here comes the next interesting part. After I load my resume, I get in, the system starts throwing up programs that I should do to develop my career. And then Eightfold starts throwing positions that I should apply for. And the system also sends a trigger to the recruiter saying, these are the people that you should look for internally. And I'm not making this up. Today, almost close to 50% of our positions are met internally. We don't go externally to the market.
I love that.
And this platform of linking learning is, for us at least, it's revolutionary. And it is also very well welcomed by our employees. So it's not only contributing to development of the employees, it is also having a huge impact on the engagement of the employees. And our attrition levels also drop, because most probably people leave organizations because they don't grow. Now people can transparently see that in our organization they can grow.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much, Dinesh. And I'm sure this is super insightful for everyone who's in HR and is following our conversation today. I have a tough question for you, Smriti. Think about the leadership competency framework today. And what are 2 or 3 capabilities that you will add today if you had to redefine your leadership competency framework from scratch? And something that you didn't even think about 10 years from now, 5 years from now, or whenever you took this role. What has become so important today that was probably not important 2 years from now, or 2 years back, but it suddenly is important today? And how would you reshape your leadership models or competency models and stuff like that?
Thank you, Pragya, for asking a tough question. And I think I'd like to share an example with you, right, for us to get started on this. When it comes to leadership competency frameworks, I think it's very, very critical that they have an understanding of the industry knowledge, the ability to manage the depth, the breadth, and also in terms of the agility that we need to have in terms of being a continuous learner, right? So at Pega, which is an AI-powered enterprise software company, I think we've been experimenting and learning in terms of how do we build competency frameworks for our leaders of the future. And I think 3 pillars that I'd like to highlight would be AI-based collaboration. Now, you might be thinking, what is it, AI-based collaboration? When I say AI-based collaboration, it's very critical for us to understand how decision-making, how the power of process efficiencies, how the strengths of individuals in a team in a cross-functional global matrix environment come together. And that is AI collaboration. So how do we leverage the power of AI? Now, this could be done through, various simulation platforms. We have something called Pega Blueprint, where each one of you actually could go to our website, type Pega Blueprint, and do simulations. Because what you do hands-on is really critical for you to kind of build that confidence. right? So one is AI-based collaboration so that you're able to make decisions, you're able to take calls in a very ambiguous environment that still are driving your clients, your employees, and your stakeholders and your investors. The second thing is about making sure how do we equip our leaders in a hybrid distributed environment, right? So one is about building technical muscle, the other is about building digital agility in a distributed work environment. I think that's another new muscle we'll all have to learn, where we are dealing with the workforce of the future, we're dealing with the skills of the future, and we still need to enable them to do their best, right? And last but not the least, as a people person, I cannot talk about the power of human centricity, which is like you have AI to help you, you have digital agility to bring it all together, but there is no shortcut to human centricity when we talk about empathy and adaptability. I think that's a key competency for us to even work more and more, because this really is going to build to the environment, the morale, and the psychological safety of our employees and our support system. I hope I answered it.
No, thank you. Thanks, Smriti. And I heard adaptability, I heard emotional stability, I heard, you talk about our availability as a human behind the machine, and all of that is absolutely critical. I want to ask Rekha that what are the watch-outs? What is something that most of us are missing? Do you think we are missing something in this race to AI? And what are the watch-outs, what are the blind spots that most of us have at this point of time when we think of our talent, when we think of hiring, when we think of building our capability pools as we're building the best-in-class capability center for the rest of the world? What is that we are missing? I'm asking you that what is that we're missing?
Okay, great question. And I can speak for a very long time, and I know we have a time constraint. So, we were just talking to our COO yesterday, and he used a very nice term. He said, we are hit by a tech storm. There's just so much, going on around you, and the pace. So, as humankind, we've always seen change. But I think it's the pace of change that is happening which is really concerning, and people really need to get their heads around it and grapple with it and be able to, communicate it and go ahead, right, with that change. I think a couple of things, Pragya, that I really want to highlight, I will call out the elephant in the room. I think everyone's concerned about the layoffs. We've seen quite a lot of it in the news in the recent past, right? And obviously, I'm not an expert to comment about why that's happening, but one thing I can clearly see is there is a need to get over that legacy mindset, right? If you're still hung up in terms of legacy skill sets, legacy organization models, legacy ways of operating in a siloed manner, we will not be able to deal with the kind of change and especially the pace of change that we're looking at. So yesterday, I was actually in Bangalore, and it's very exciting for RealPage because we've acquired a company, and this company is doing amazing work in the field of human in the loop. And they've created this amazing agentic AI platform. And that founder was actually telling me, he said, Rekha, there are no longer defined roles, right? It's all blurring. You actually need a builder. The person actually has to be talented enough to understand the entire organization, the business model. And I think previous speakers also spoke about how important it is for every employee in the organization to understand the business model and the business imperatives and what is it that the customers are looking for, no matter how junior that person is, right? Because when you know that, then you are building a solution. And it doesn't matter, a product could be doing engineering, and engineering could be doing something else. Those roles no longer exist. And that's the future that I am seeing. We are already in that future. And if you're not, skilling ourselves, making ourselves relevant to that reality that we are seeing, that is the biggest risk to my mind.
Absolutely. And thanks, Rekha, for calling it out, and thanks for being honest. Yeah, I always love honesty. Dinesh, that brings me to my next question. We talk of layoffs, we talk of redundancies, we talk of AI taking over the world, we talk of everything being automated. In this new age of fear-mongering, what are the human-centric capabilities that will outshine everything, and will still allow you to hold your job?
Good, okay, that's a tough question. And we had a pre-arrangement, sorry, I have to disclose this.
No,
before the,
you think about
before
it.
the start of the panel discussion, of course, we had a pre-alignment, and then all of us said that, okay, if a tough question is asked to one of us, we will look at the co-panelists, and if they are not smiling, I can pass it to the person who's not smiling, and they are all laugh, you can see that, which is clearly indicating that I cannot pass it to any of them and I have to answer it myself. Okay, I'm going to give it a shot. And honestly, I'm going to speak from my heart. It's not that something that I read, but that I practice. In my view, I think, and if I focus or zoom in on leadership starts where AI ends, and that's the way I will sum it to begin with. Yeah? Because I think no longer we all would agree that the debate is over. Will AI take over? Will AI be there? Will AI really rule over things and all of that? I think we have all understood that AI is going to be there and move ahead, and we have to embrace that. If I ask, among the audience who all use ChatGPT, all the hands will go up.
Let's ask that question. How many of us use ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot?
Yeah.
Just raise your hand if your organization is embracing it too.
Probably you should ask the opposite question. How many of you don't use?
Let's ask the opposite
Then
question
we can
as
see
well. How many
hands.
organizations are staying away and resisting ChatGPT, Copilot, Gemini, and any other AI tool? No hands are going up.
So it's there. So it's going to live with us. So we need to embrace this. Now, all we need to understand is how to use this technology. If you look at ChatGPT, for example, it is nothing but a far advanced research and analytical tool. That's it. What it does is it connects to various sources, gets you the information. The more specific your questions are, it gives you more analytical answers. So artificial intelligence can give you insights, but the decisions has to be taken by the human. Artificial cannot enable decision making, and that's where the human touch comes in. And again, I can go on multiple skills, but I'm sticking to this because decision-making skill is one, I think, again, it's my answer, don't ridicule me for this, is one important skill that also, differentiates human beings from the other species. Yeah, we are very quick, we are intelligent to think, we can decide in that moment, and we can take intellectual decisions. So I'm going to repeat this again. Artificial intelligence will definitely, it will be much faster than you in getting information. And that is where it will take over the human beings. But it cannot enable, or it cannot do decision making itself. It can enable, but the decision has to come from us. And attached to that, I will stress on one more skill, cognitive skills. We already started talking about cognitive skills a couple of years ago. It becomes more and more and more important that we invest in cognitive skills, enable thinking, lateral thinking, creative thinking. This is needed by us. Yeah? Like I said, I can go on this, but at least these are some top skills that is coming up to my mind. And I will say my opening statement again. I think we should keep this in mind. Leadership starts where AI ends. But we are in this journey together.
I think the question to ask is not, will I lose my job to AI? Rather, how do I continue to bring value? I think that's the mind shift that needs to happen.
Absolutely. Thanks, Rekha, and thanks, Dinesh, for answering this question. Smriti, I always reserve tough questions for you. Now, answer honestly. Have you thought about the growth plans? Have you thought about the competency frameworks? Have you thought about how people will grow in your organizations once AI is in and is big? How will the leadership models look like? How would the growth plans look like? How would the promotions look like? Have you thought about it? Are you still thinking about it? How do you think the HR leaders should embrace the change when AI comes through the door? And maybe a 25-year-old can be our leader too. We should be very accepting of that. But how are you thinking about it?
I think the change is already there. So I think we're already on the job, and most of us are like still learning And that's the key. So with AI, I think the key is that you need to be a continuous learner and you need to experiment, right? And so it's not just about learning a new technology, it is actually about co-creating with that technology and leading from the front. What I mean here is something that will always be valuable, apart from what my panelist here, Dinesh, shared, is being curious and being a problem solver. I think if you are curious, it takes you to Mars. If you're curious, it takes you to other worlds. So it is very, very critical from a competency perspective when we are trying to build the workforce of the future is make sure that we are able to bring in that experience and that attitude and that approach as we go forward at different levels of the organization. I know the watch is ticking on me, but I think if I were to leave you with one thought, it would be that technology can help you learn things, but you have to learn to co-create with technology. You have to learn to be leading and shaping the next with technology.
Absolutely, I fully understand. And as I'm hiring for my team, I look for agility and learnability. These are the only two skills I look for. Everything else is compromised. If you don't know anything about HR business partnering, that's okay, as long as you can learn. So very quickly to Dinesh and Rekha, and to both of you actually, what is one disruptive trend about the AI today that the GCC leaders today cannot miss? It will disrupt the environment today, and if we miss the trend, then we will lag behind.
Okay, let me do it quickly. The worst place to be in is between people and their lunch, and the bird has turned red, and also it is indicating us. We have to understand that there is something going to come after AI. Yeah? It is not going to stop, and that is going to, AI is already disrupting a few things. This is not going to stop here. There is something next, I don't know what, but something is definitely coming after AI, which is going to further disrupt us. And I think we have seen these new technologies or new inventions coming year after year and continuously disturbing the way we do things. I think we should get a little proactive in preparing ourselves for what next.
I will just share my favorite quote from Charles Dickens' Tale of Two Cities. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. I would just want to leave the audience with that. It's the perspective, I think, that matters. And yes, like Dinesh said, disruption was always there. It's just the pace. But what's more important is our perspective and how we deal with it and how we stay ahead of the curve.
Absolutely, and I hope you got something from the HR leaders today. We have the best-in-class HR leaders on the stage. You know that this is really important to most of us. We are thinking about AI, we're thinking about talent, we're thinking about how to upskill talent, we're also thinking about the growth plans for talent, we're thinking about talent models, we're thinking about leadership capabilities and skills. I think most of us are in a place where we are at this point of time just trying to understand what is the scale of change. While Smriti, Dinesh, and Rekha are fairly ahead of the game, I'm fairly certain there are many HR heads or other HR leaders who are sitting in the audience today and thinking that I'm nowhere close. Don't be afraid. I'm sure we are all on the same path and the same journey, and we'll catch up. And I'm sure humans always survive and they find a way to exist. And I'm fairly certain that this is how everyone else felt when Google was launched or when internet was launched or when emails were launched and everything else. I'm fairly certain that we'll do well. So I'm being optimistic, but as an HR head, I think I have a long way to go ahead. And I'm learning from Rekha, I'm learning from Smriti, I'm learning from Dinesh, and thank you so much for your perspective. Thank you.
Thank you.